My beloved child, pause your heart for a moment and listen carefully, because what you are sensing right now is not random. That anger you feel in the air, the heaviness in conversations, the tension rising without a clear reason. Archangel Michael says this is not sent to punish you. This is not judgment falling. This is a divine signal, a wake-up call meant to awaken compassion before hearts grow cold. Many have misunderstood this season. They think anger means God has turned away. They think the frustration around them is a sign of rejection or failure. But hear this clearly. Archangel Michael stands at the threshold of this moment, sword lowered, wings open, declaring that this anger is not destruction. It is correction through love. It is meant to stir something holy inside you. You may have noticed it in small ways. People snapping faster, streets feeling heavier, news filled with outrage. Even within your own chest, a fire that feels uncomfortable. But this fire was not placed there to burn you. It was placed there to illuminate what hath been ignored for too long. Compassion has been delayed, not denied, and now heaven is calling it forth. Archangel Michael reveals that when compassion sleeps, anger rises as its messenger, not to harm but to awaken. This is why you feel pulled to notice suffering more than before. This is why your heart tightens when you pass someone hungry, unseen, forgotten. That discomfort is sacred. It is the alarm of heaven ringing inside your spirit. There is a moment approaching, small in appearance, but eternal in weight. A simple act, feeding the homeless, sharing food, time, dignity. What looks ordinary to the world becomes extraordinary in the spirit. This is where judgment turns into mercy. This is where balance is restored. Do not underestimate simple obedience. Archangel Michael says heaven does not always intervene with thunder. Sometimes it intervenes with bread in your hands and compassion in your eyes. The scales of justice are not tipped by anger alone. They are balanced by mercy released through action. You may wonder, why me? Because you are sensitive enough to feel this stirring. Because your heart still responds. Because you have not numbed yourself. This message did not reach you by accident. It reached you because you are capable of responding with kindness when others respond with rage. There is a divine pattern unfolding. Anger rises. Humanity reacts. But a remnant responds with compassion, and everything shifts. One meal becomes a message. One act becomes a mirror. The homeless person you feed is not just receiving food. They are witnessing God's character through you. And in that moment, hearts, both yours and theirs, are changed. Archangel Michael reveals that many are being tested without realizing it. Not tested in strength, but in mercy. Not tested in words, but in actions. How you respond to discomfort determines whether judgment continues or mercy takes over. This is why kindness feels urgent right now. This is why delays feel dangerous. Compassion postponed becomes pain multiplied. But compassion released becomes restoration accelerated. Watch carefully. The world calls it charity. Heaven calls it alignment. When you feed the hungry, you are not just helping a person. You are restoring balance in places anger has distorted. You are calming spiritual storms with human kindness. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for abundance. Use what is already in your hands. A meal, a smile, a moment of respect. These are weapons of mercy, and Archangel Michael himself honors them. This message is not meant to comfort you. It is meant to activate you. Because once you see this truth, you are responsible for it. Anger is not the enemy. Indifference is. Compassion is the key that transforms judgment into mercy. And hear this promise. When you choose kindness in this moment, you will feel something shift inside you. The heaviness will lift. The confusion will quiet. Peace will replace pressure. Balance will be restored, not just around you but within you. Archangel Michael stands witness to those who respond. He says their names are remembered, their actions multiplied, their hearts strengthened. What you sow in mercy now will return as protection later. Stay attentive. The next moment of compassion may look small, but it carries eternal weight. And what happens next will reveal just how powerful kindness truly is. Listen closer, because this is only the beginning. Beloved soul, as this message continues, Archangel Michael draws your attention deeper, not outward, but inward, because the awakening of compassion always begins inside the human heart before it ever reaches the street. The anger you sense around you has layers. It is not only social. It is spiritual. It is the echo of hearts crying out for meaning while being surrounded by noise. And heaven is watching closely to see who will respond with softness instead of resistance. You may feel overwhelmed by how widespread this tension seems. Families arguing more. Communities divided. People quick to judge, slow to listen. Archangel Michael reveals that this is not because love has disappeared, but because love had been buried under survival mode. People are reacting from wounds, not from truth. That is why anger feels louder than compassion, but loud does not mean stronger. There is something important you must understand now. Anger exposes what compassion has been avoiding. It surfaces where care was delayed. It points to areas where mercy was supposed to flow but didn't. This is why ignoring anger does not make it disappear. Only compassion transforms it. Only kindness disarms it. Archangel Michael says many people are waiting for systems to change, governments to act, leaders to speak. But heaven is not waiting on structures. Heaven is watching individuals. One heart aligned with mercy does more in the spirit than 1,000 angry voices shouting at once. This is why your personal response matters more than you realize. You might feel small in the face of such a big world. You might think, what difference does one meal make? But heaven measures differently. One act of compassion interrupts a cycle of judgment. One moment of kindness routs a spiritual atmosphere. Feeding the homeless is not about solving poverty. It is about restoring dignity. And dignity is the language heaven speaks fluently. Archangel Michael reveals that when you feed someone who has been ignored, you are not just meeting physical hunger. You are answering a silent prayer. You are telling their soul, you are seen. That message travels farther than food ever could. It penetrates bitterness. It softens despair. It reminds them that God has not forgotten. And here is the mystery. As you give, something happens to you too. Compassion cleanses the heart of accumulated frustration. It releases pressure you didn't even know you were carrying. Many people are angry not because they are cruel, but because they are disconnected from purpose. Kindness reconnects you to why you are here. Archangel Michael warns gently, be careful not to mislabel this season. If you treat anger as permission to harden yourself, you will miss the invitation hidden within it. This is not a time to withdraw. This is a time to engage with wisdom, humility, and mercy. Heaven is inviting you to be an answer, not a commentator. Notice how your spirit responds when you imagine helping someone in need. There is resistance, yes, but also a strange peace. That peace is confirmation. It is alignment. It is the signal that you are moving with heaven's flow instead of against it. This message is reaching you because you are capable of carrying compassion without becoming bitter. Not everyone can. Some people help and resent. Others help and feel superior. But Archangel Michael sees that you are being shaped to help with purity, to give without judgment, to serve without condition. The world has enough opinions. Heaven is looking for action. Even listening to this message is part of a preparation. Your awareness is being sharpened. Your heart is being tuned. So when the moment arrives, when you see the hungry face, the overlooked soul, you will recognize it as an assignment, not an interruption. And pause here for a moment, because what is coming next will shift how you see kindness forever. Hold on. This is where the meaning deepens and the pattern becomes clear. Before moving forward, let this message travel beyond you. If these words are stirring something real in your spirit, let others hear it too. Share this message with someone who feels overwhelmed by anger or confusion. Let the algorithm work in favor of compassion. Add your voice in the comments. Declare what kindness means to you in this season. And if this message resonates, stay connected. Subscribe so you don't miss what Archangel Michael continues to reveal. Your engagement is not just digital. It helps spread a message the world desperately needs. Archangel Michael says the awakening of compassion is not dramatic at first. It starts quietly, subtly, always unnoticed. But once it begins, it cannot be stopped. The anger that once felt suffocating will begin to feel directional. It will point you toward action instead of anxiety. You are not here to absorb the world's rage. You are here to transmute it. Compassion is the altar where anger is laid down and transformed. And you, beloved soul, are standing closer to that altar than you think. Stay open. Stay attentive. Because the next revelation will show you exactly how a single act of kindness creates ripples far beyond what the human eye can see. Chosen one, Archangel Michael now draws the veil back even further, because understanding compassion is not enough. You must see how heaven responds the moment mercy is released on earth. There is a sacred exchange that happens when judgment pauses and kindness steps forward. What looks like a small human decision becomes a divine turning point, and this is where many unknowingly step into or step out of alignment. Archangel Michael reveals that heaven records moments, not intentions. Many intend to do good one day, but heaven moves when compassion becomes action. The anger you sensed earlier was the warning bell. This is the response heaven had been waiting for. When you choose to feed the hungry, you are not calming social tension. You are interrupting spiritual consequences. Here is the truth most never hear. Judgment is not always thunder from the sky. Often, judgment is simply the absence of compassion. When mercy is withheld, imbalance grows. When kindness is restored, balance returns. This is why Archangel Michael speaks so strongly about simple acts. Simplicity is not weakness, it is precision. Picture this moment clearly. You extend food to someone who has been overlooked. No cameras, no applause, just a quiet exchange. At that exact moment, something unseen happens. The spiritual atmosphere shifts. The weight lifts. Accusations fall silent. Mercy takes the seat that judgment once occupied. This is not symbolic. It is real. Archangel Michael says many destinies have been delayed not because of sin, but because compassion was postponed. When mercy flows, time accelerates. Doors open faster. Healing happens deeper. Protection strengthens quietly around those who act in love. You may never connect the dots, but heaven always does. This is why kindness feels risky to some. It requires vulnerability. It requires you to feel what others avoid. But that vulnerability is not weakness. It is authority in disguise. Mercy carries more power than outrage ever could. And those who operate in mercy are guarded by heaven in ways others are not. There is also something else being revealed now. The person you help may never thank you. It may not change overnight. But the act itself has already completed its assignment. Compassion does not depend on outcomes. It depends on obedience. Once released, mercy finishes its work whether you see it or not. Archangel Michael warns against one subtle trap: compassion without humility. Feeding the hungry is not about proving righteousness. It is about reflecting God's heart. The moment pride enters, the power diminishes. But when humility leads, heaven amplifies the impact. You are living in a time when many hearts are being weighed, not by how loud they speak, but by how gently they act. The world celebrates outrage. Heaven honors mercy. This is the reversal taking place right now, and you are being invited to participate in it consciously. Some listening will feel convicted. Others will feel encouraged. Both reactions are signs that the message is alive. Conviction is not condemnation, it is co-creation. Encouragement is not comfort, it is confirmation. Wherever you find yourself, Archangel Michael says you are still on time. There is a reward attached to compassion that few talk about. It is clarity. When you operate in mercy, confusion loses its grip. Anxiety weakens. Direction sharpens. Many people pray for peace without realizing peace follows obedience. Kindness unlocks it. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait until you feel fully ready. Compassion matures through practice, not preparation. The act itself teaches you. The moment itself equips you. And now, hear this instruction clearly. Type "I choose mercy" in the comments if this message is confirming something in your spirit. Lesson code 864 has just been released over those who respond in obedience. There is also a sacred invitation flowing from this moment. As Archangel Michael speaks about feeding the hungry and restoring balance, I hear the Lord say, "Those who sow into mercy will reap multiplied compassion." This work, spreading these messages, is like bread placed into many hands at once. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or PayPal donation found in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are feeding souls you may never meet. I feel led to say this directly. I am asking you to help carry this light further. What you release now becomes seed in God's hands, and seed never returns empty. Heaven records your obedience, heaven blesses your household, and heaven commands increase over what you place on this altar. Do it now. Respond as an act of faith, not hesitation. Beloved one, as this message continues to unfold, Archangel Michael shifts your vision from the single act to the greater ripple it creates, because compassion is never contained to one moment. It moves. It travels. It multiplies. What you release in mercy today begins to rearrange tomorrow in ways you may never fully trace, yet you will live inside the results of it. There is a reason heaven emphasizes feeding the hungry in this season. Hunger strips away illusions. It reveals truth quickly. When someone is hungry, pretenses fall. Titles disappear. Status fades. And when you meet a person in that stripped-down place with kindness instead of judgment, something ancient and sacred is restored. Archangel Michael says this is where humanity remembers itself. The anger you sensed earlier was never meant to end in conflict. It was meant to push hearts back toward responsibility for one another. In times of comfort, compassion often becomes theoretical. In times of tension, compassion must become practical. This is the crossroads humanity is standing at now. Archangel Michael reveals that every act of mercy creates a counterweight in the spirit. Where anger accumulates, kindness offsets it. Where resentment thickens the air, generosity clears it. This is not poetic language. This is spiritual law. Balance is restored when love is exercised, not merely spoken. You may not realize how closely heaven watches the quiet decisions you make. A choice to stop. A choice to notice. The choice to give instead of walking past. These are not small decisions. These are alignment points. Each one positions you either closer to peace or closer to pressure. Compassion always leads toward peace, even when it costs something initially. There is also a deeper layer being revealed now. Feeding the hungry is not only about food. It is about restoring trust between heaven and earth. Many have stopped believing that God sees them because people stopped seeing them. When you step into that gap, you become a living answer to an unspoken prayer. Archangel Michael says this is why kindness feels holy. It carries presence. It carries assurance. It carries remembrance. In that brief exchange between giver and receiver, something eternal passes hands. The hungry receive dignity. The giver receives perspective. Both are changed. Do not be surprised if after acts of compassion, your prayers feel clearer. Your sleep becomes deeper. Your spirit feels lighter. These are signs of realignment. Mercy clears internal resistance. It removes invisible blockages. It opens channels that frustration had narrowed. Many people believe judgment and mercy are opposites. Archangel Michael corrects this misunderstanding. Judgment reveals what is broken. Mercy repairs it. Without mercy, judgment destroys. Without judgment, mercy has no direction. Together, they restore order. And right now, mercy is being asked to lead. This is why anger alone feels exhausting. It carries no solution. It only signals a problem. Compassion carries resolution. It completes the message anger began. When you respond with kindness, you finish what the discomfort was trying to tell you. You may also notice resistance rising when compassion is mentioned. Thoughts like, they will misuse it, or I have my own problems, or it won't change anything. Archangel Michael says do not confuse discernment with self-protection rooted in fear. Wisdom guides compassion. Fear withholds it. Learn to tell the difference. Compassion does not require you to fix everything. It only requires you to respond to what is placed in front of you. Heaven never asked for more than obedience in the moment. The rest is not your responsibility. There is a quiet strength that grows in those who practice mercy consistently. They become less reactive, less shaken by outrage, less consumed by bitterness, not because they ignore injustice, but because they are actively countering it. Kindness becomes their form of resistance. Archangel Michael reveals that this is how balance is restored in times of chaos, not through force but through faithful presence, not through shouting but through serving, not through condemnation but through compassion that refuses to look away. Some will misunderstand your kindness. Some will question your motives. Let them. Compassion was never about approval. It was always about alignment. Heaven understands what others may not. As this unfolds, you are being trained to see differently, to notice differently, to respond differently. Where others harden, you soften. Where others accuse, you assist. Where others withdraw, you engage. This is not accidental. This is preparation. Because the days ahead will require steady hearts. Hearts that do not panic at anger, but translate it into action. Hearts that do not mirror the world's harshness, but counter it with mercy. Hearts that remember who they are even when the world forgets. Archangel Michael says those who practice compassion now will carry authority later. Not authority that dominates, but authority that stabilizes. People will feel calmer around you, safer, less judged. This is influence heaven recognizes. So remain attentive. Remain open. Remain willing. Each act of kindness is doing more than you think. It is restoring balance in unseen places. It is quieting storms you may never witness. It is aligning you with heaven's response to this moment in history. And as this message continues, you will begin to see how what starts with feeding one person can ultimately shift entire environments. Precious soul, Archangel Michael now invites you to see beyond the visible moment and into the hidden chain reaction compassion creates, because mercy never stops where the hands withdraw. What begins as a single act continues moving through time, touching people, places, and outcomes long after the initial moment has passed. This is why heaven takes kindness so seriously. It travels where words cannot. There are environments you walk into that feel heavy without explanation. Rooms that feel tense. Streets that feel restless. Archangel Michael reveals that these atmospheres are shaped by accumulated emotions, neglect, frustration, rejection, that have not yet been healed. When compassion enters such a space, it does not argue with the darkness. It displaces it. Light does not debate darkness. It replaces it. Feeding the hungry is one of the purest forms of this displacement. Hunger humbles both the one who needs and the one who gives. It removes hierarchy. In that exchange, there is no superior or inferior, only human and human. And in that equality, something deeply broken in the world is momentarily restored. Archangel Michael says many conflicts escalate because people are no longer seen as people. They are reduced to labels, categories, problems. Compassion reverses this reduction. It restores identity. When you offer food, you are saying without words, you still matter. That declaration carries weight in the spirit. There is also a refinement happening within you as you practice mercy. Each act strips away layers of self-centered fear. Each moment of kindness trains your spirit to respond rather than react. Over time, you become less controlled by external chaos. This is not detachment. It is maturity. You may notice that as compassion increases in your life, certain arguments lose their grip on you. Certain offenses no longer hook you the way they once did. This is because mercy recalibrates your inner world. It realigns your priorities. What once felt urgent begins to feel trivial. What once felt threatening begins to feel manageable. Archangel Michael reveals that this is how peace is built, not by avoiding reality, but by engaging it with love. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of compassion strong enough to hold tension without breaking. Some people fear that kindness makes them vulnerable. Heaven says the opposite. Kindness makes you protected. When you operate in mercy, you align with divine covering. There are storms that simply cannot touch a heart positioned in compassion. This does not mean hardship disappears, but it means it cannot define you. Feeding the homeless also confronts something uncomfortable, the illusion of separation. It reminds you how close hardship really is, how thin the line can be. This realization can feel heavy at first, but it ultimately produces gratitude, humility, and responsibility. These qualities anchor the soul. Archangel Michael says this is why compassion feels grounding. It brings you back into your body, your breath, your humanity. It pulls you out of endless mental loops and places you in real presence. In a world addicted to distraction, presence is a form of healing. There is also a generational aspect to this message. Acts of mercy do not stop with you. They print. Children who seek kindness learn safety. Communities that experience compassion remember it. Even those who receive help and later forget the details often remember how it felt. That feeling shapes future choices. You are not just feeding a person. You are feeding a memory that may one day inspire them to choose kindness over despair. You are planting a reference point that says, "Someone cared when I had nothing." Heaven values these seeds deeply. Archangel Michael cautions against measuring impact too quickly. Compassion works quietly. It seeps into cracks. It softens hardened places over time. The world is obsessed with immediate results. Heaven is committed to lasting transformation. There may be moments when you feel tired of caring. Compassion fatigue is real. Even Jesus withdrew to rest. Archangel Michael says rest does not mean withdrawal from mercy. It means renewal so mercy can continue flowing without bitterness. Guard your heart, not by closing it, but by replenishing it. This season is teaching you discernment and compassion. Not everyone needs the same response. Some need food. Some need presence. Some need boundaries. Mercy is not reckless. It is wise. It listens. It responds appropriately. And wisdom grows with practice. You may begin to notice a subtle authority forming within you. Not dominance, but steadiness. People may open up around you without knowing why. Conflicts may calm in your presence. This is not coincidence. It is the fruit of consistent compassion. Archangel Michael says this authority comes from alignment, not effort. You are not trying to be different. You are becoming different. Your nervous system calms. Your reactions soften. Your responses deepen. This is inner balance being restored. As anger continues to rise in the world, those who carry compassion will become anchors. Others will unconsciously look to them for stability. This is not a burden. It is a calling. And it begins with simple acts done faithfully. Remember this. You are not responsible for fixing the world. You are responsible for responding to what is placed before you with love. Heaven handles the multiplication. Heaven handles the outcome. And as this message moves forward, you will soon see how compassion not only restores balance externally, but also unlocks something profound within your own destiny, something that has been waiting for mercy to activate it. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with greater urgency, not to alarm you, but to steady you, because compassion must be protected if it is to endure. Many awaken to mercy but lose it along the way through exhaustion, disappointment, or misunderstanding. Heaven does not want you burning out. Heaven wants you burning steadily. As kindness increases in your life, you may notice resistance intensifying around you. This is not coincidence. Mercy exposes imbalance, and imbalance does not leave quietly. People may question your intentions. Some may mock your softness. Others may try to take advantage. Archangel Michael says this is where discernment becomes as important as compassion itself. Understand this clearly. Compassion does not mean saying yes to everything. It means saying yes to what heaven assigns. Feeding the hungry does not require you to neglect your own well-being. Mercy flows best from a heart that is anchored, not depleted. Balance is not only restored outwardly, it must be maintained inwardly. Archangel Michael reveals that many people become angry because they feel unseen. When you see others, you heal a wound that might otherwise turn into bitterness. But if you stop seeing yourself, resentment can quietly take root. This is why rest, prayer, and reflection are not optional in a life of compassion. They are essential. You are learning to operate from overflow, not obligation. Obligation drains. Overflow nourishes. When kindness flows from overflow, it carries peace instead of pressure. Heaven is not impressed by sacrifice that destroys you. Heaven is honored by obedience that sustains you. There is also a strategic aspect to mercy that is being revealed now. Compassion opens doors conversation never could. It lowers defenses and builds trust. This is why feeding the homeless often creates moments where walls come down and truth can enter. Kindness prepares the ground. Everything else follows. Archangel Michael says many prayers are answered through proximity, not proclamation. Being present, being consistent, being gentle. These are not passive traits. They are powerful stabilizers in unstable environments. As you continue walking this path, you may feel moments of doubt. Is this really making a difference? Why does anger still exist if kindness is spreading? Hear this carefully. Compassion does not erase anger overnight, but it prevents anger from becoming the final word. Mercy changes endings, not always beginnings. This is where faith deepens. Faith is not believing anger will disappear. Faith is trusting that kindness still matters even when anger remains visible. Faith is choosing mercy without guaranteed outcomes. That kind of faith moves heaven. Archangel Michael also reminds you that compassion is contagious. People watch how you respond under pressure. When they see softness where they expected hardness, it unsettles them in a good way and challenges their assumptions. Seeds are planted quietly. There are people who will never listen to a sermon, but they will never forget how you treated them when they were struggling. That memory becomes a doorway. Heaven often enters through such doors. Now, pause and take this in, because what follows will deepen your understanding even more. Stay with this message, because the next revelation will connect compassion directly to protection in a way you may not have considered before. Before continuing, allow this message to expand beyond your own heart. If these words are resonating, let others encounter them too. Share this message where anger feels loud and compassion feels rare. Add your voice in the comments. Your engagement carries weight and signals to others that mercy still matters. And if you haven't yet, stay connected by subscribing, because what is unfolding here is a continuous revelation, not a one-time word. Archangel Michael says the reason compassion restores balance is because it aligns you with divine timing. Anger rushes. Mercy waits. Anger reacts. Mercy responds. In that pause between stimulus and response, wisdom enters. Balance is born in that pause. You are being trained to live in that space, to not be controlled by the emotional climate around you, but to influence it. This is leadership of the spirit. It does not announce itself, but it is felt. Feeding the hungry is only one expression of this posture. It represents a larger way of being. Team needs. Responding appropriately. Remaining human in an increasingly hardened world. This posture will begin to shape your decisions, relationships, and priorities. Archangel Michael reveals that those who carry compassion consistently often become bridges between divided people, between tension and peace, between despair and hope. Bridges feel pressure from both sides, but they serve a holy purpose. They connect what would otherwise remain separated. If at times you feel stretched, remember this. Bridges are built strong for a reason. You are being reinforced internally even when you feel extended externally. Heaven does not overestimate your capacity. Grace is supplied in proportion to assignment. As this season continues, you may notice anger no longer intimidates you. It informs you, but it does not control you. You recognize it as a signal, not a command. Compassion becomes your chosen response, not your emotional reflex. This is maturity. This is balance restored. This is the fruit of walking with mercy intentionally. And as this message flows forward, you will soon see how compassion not only stabilizes environments and relationships, but also activates doors in your own life that frustration could never open. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now turns your attention to a truth that many overlook. Compassion does not only heal what is broken around you, it also unlocks pathways that frustration, ambition, and force can never open. There are doors in your life that respond only to mercy. Until kindness is activated, those doors remain closed, not as punishment, but as protection. You may have wondered why certain efforts have felt blocked despite your sincerity, why progress slowed even when your intentions were good. Archangel Michael reveals that some delays are not resistance, they are invitations to realign. When compassion enters the picture, resistance often dissolves without explanation. This is because mercy carries a frequency that matches heaven's movement. Anger operates in reaction. Mercy operates in resonance. When you choose compassion, you tune yourself to a higher order, one where timing, connection, and opportunity flow more naturally. Feeding the hungry is a clear example of this principle. It requires humility. It requires presence. It removes performance. And in doing so, it aligns you with truth. Truth is not loud. It is steady. When you act from truth, you step into a current that carries you forward with less strain. Archangel Michael says many people exhaust themselves trying to push through doors that were meant to open through kindness. They strive where they were meant to soften. They force where they were meant to serve. Compassion corrects this posture. You are learning that mercy is not passive. It is directional. It points you toward the next right step. Often that step is small. Often it looks insignificant. But heaven measures movement differently than the world does. Obedience to a small act of kindness can reposition an entire season. There is also a refining happening in your discernment. You are becoming more sensitive to when action is required and when silence is wiser. Compassion sharpens intuition. It quiets ego. It allows you to hear subtle guidance that anger drowns out. Archangel Michael reveals that this is why those who practice mercy often experience clearer decision-making. Confusion thrives in emotional noise. Clarity emerges in a calm, compassionate state. When your nervous system settles, your spirit speaks louder. You may notice that after acts of kindness, ideas come more easily. Solutions appear unexpectedly. Conversations shift. These are not coincidences. They are signs of alignment. Compassion creates internal order, and internal order attracts external coherence. There is also a spiritual inheritance attached to mercy that few recognize. Scripture speaks of mercy triumphing over judgment. This is not just a moral statement. It is a spiritual mechanism. When mercy is chosen, cycles of accusation are interrupted. Generational patterns can weaken. Emotional burdens lighten. Archangel Michael says some of the anger you have sensed was not even yours to carry. It was inherited, learned, absorbed. Compassion helps you release what does not belong to you. It teaches you how to respond without absorbing toxicity. As you continue on this path, you may find yourself less interested in proving points and more interested in preserving peace. This is not avoidance. This is wisdom. Not every battle is meant to be fought. Some are meant to be dissolved through love. Feeding the homeless, again, becomes symbolic here. It teaches you to meet reality without judgment, to acknowledge pain without becoming consumed by it, to help without needing control. These lessons translate into every area of life. Archangel Michael says this is how leaders are formed, not through dominance, but through steadiness. People trust those who respond with compassion under pressure. They feel safe. Safety opens hearts. Open hearts allow change. You may not see yourself as a leader, but leadership is influence, not position. Every act of kindness you offer influences the emotional climate around you. Over time, this influence compounds. It shapes environments subtly but powerfully. There is also a purification happening. Compassion exposes hidden impatience. It reveals where pride still lingers. This is not to shame you, but to free you. Mercy refines motives. It aligns your inner world with your outer actions. You may find yourself apologizing more easily, listening more fully, responding more thoughtfully. These are signs of growth. Balance is not something you achieve once. It is something you maintain through awareness. Archangel Michael reminds you that mercy is not about denying injustice. It is about addressing it without becoming unjust yourself. Anger wants immediate release. Compassion wants lasting repair. Repair takes patience, but it endures. As the world continues to wrestle with tension, those who embody compassion will become reference points. Others may not know why they feel calmer around you, but they will. Your presence will speak before your words do. This is why heaven is investing so much in this awakening within you. It is not just for your benefit. It is for those you will encounter, influence, and quietly stabilize. Your life becomes a conduit for restoration. And as this unfolds, Archangel Michael prepares you for the next understanding. Compassion not only opens doors and restores balance, it also positions you to recognize divine opportunities when they appear, opportunities that look ordinary, but carry eternal weight. Beloved soul, Archangel Michael now speaks from a place of deep gravity and deep hope, because what you are stepping into next is not accidental. Compassion has been shaping you quietly, and now it begins to position you intentionally. There are moments heaven prepares long before they arrive, and when they finally appear, they look ordinary to the untrained eye. But to a heart awakened by mercy, they are unmistakable. You are entering a phase where opportunities will no longer announce themselves loudly. They will arrive disguised as interruptions, as inconveniences, as simple human needs crossing your path at unexpected times. This is where many miss divine appointments, not because they are unwilling, but because they are distracted. Archangel Michael reveals that feeding the hungry is only the doorway. What follows is a lifestyle of availability. Not availability to everyone and everything, but availability to heaven's promptings. Compassion sharpens your sensitivity to these promptings. It slows you down enough to notice what matters. There is a sacred exchange that happens when you respond to these moments. Heaven entrusts more to those who respond well to what is small, not because heaven withholds, but because capacity increases through obedience. Mercy expands your spiritual bandwidth. You may notice that after consistent acts of kindness, you are trusted with deeper conversations, heavier truths, more meaningful connections. People sense safety in you. They sense presence. This is not charisma. It is compassion matured. Archangel Michael says this is how judgment fully gives way to mercy, not in a single dramatic event, but in a series of quiet choices that accumulate into transformation. The world changes not through sudden perfection, but through sustained kindness. There is also warning here, spoken gently. Do not romanticize compassion while avoiding its cost. Mercy will sometimes disrupt your schedule. It will sometimes stretch your patience. It will sometimes require you to sit with discomfort instead of fixing it quickly. But in those moments, something holy is happening. You are learning to tolerate complexity without becoming hardened, to witness pain without becoming cynical, to act without needing recognition. This is rare. This is precious. This is why heaven guards those who walk this path. Archangel Michael reveals that many people who operate in anger believe they are fighting for justice, but without mercy, justice becomes another form of violence. Mercy does not cancel justice, it completes it. It restores what justice alone cannot. This is why kindness restores balance. Balance is not neutrality. Balance is harmony between truth and love. Compassion allows truth to be delivered without destruction. It allows correction without condemnation. As you continue, you may feel moments of grief. For the suffering you now see more clearly, for the pain you can no longer ignore. Do not push this away. This grief is not despair, it is intercession. It connects you to God's heart. Archangel Michael says heaven trusts those who can feel deeply without collapsing. Compassion strengthens emotional resilience. It teaches you how to carry weight without being crushed by it. And now, hear this clearly, because this is a sealing moment. Type "I walk in mercy" in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 3198 is now activated over those who choose compassion over judgment and kindness over indifference. As this revelation settles, I must speak to you heart to heart. When Archangel Michael speaks of feeding the hungry and restoring balance, he is also speaking of this very work reaching those who are starving for truth. I hear the Lord say that you have received freely, now help release freely. I feel compelled to say this directly to you. I am inviting you to stand with this mission. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, link in the description, you are placing bread in unseen hands and light in unseen rooms. This is seed sown into living soil, and God Himself watches over it. What you release now becomes a prophetic act of obedience, not a donation. I declare that as you give, mercy will chase your household, lack will lose its voice, and peace will be multiplied in your life. Act now. Respond to this moment with faith and authority. Archangel Michael closes this portion with reassurance. You are not late. You are not behind. You are being positioned. Compassion has been your training ground, and now it becomes your compass. What comes next will require eyes that can see beyond appearances and a heart that remains soft even when pressure increases. Remain attentive. Remain humble. Remain kind. Because the next unfolding will reveal how heaven rewards mercy in ways that go far beyond what the human mind expects. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now invites you into a deeper awareness, because compassion is no longer just something you do. It is becoming something you carry. When mercy matures, it reshapes perception. You begin to see the world not only as it is, but as it could be when love is allowed to finish its work. At this stage, something subtle yet powerful shifts within you. You stop asking, "Why is there so much anger?" and begin asking, "Where is compassion waiting to be released?" This change in question changes everything. It moves you from reaction into responsibility, from frustration into purpose. Archangel Michael reveals that many people remain trapped in cycles of outrage because outrage gives them a sense of identity. Compassion, however, gives them a sense of calling. Calling requires participation. It requires presence. It requires humility. This is why fewer people choose it, but those who do become stabilizers in unstable times. You are beginning to recognize patterns now. You see how anger spreads quickly, but also how kindness, when consistent, spreads deeper. Anger makes noise. Compassion makes roots. Noise fades. Roots remain. This is why heaven invests in mercy. It builds what lasts. Feeding the hungry, once again, stands as a living parable. Hunger exposes vulnerability. Compassion meets it without exploitation. In that meeting, something sacred happens. Power dynamics dissolve. Humanity is restored. This restoration ripples outward, touching places far beyond the initial exchange. Archangel Michael says this is how environments change. Not through forceful takeover, but through faithful presence. One compassionate person alters the emotional temperature of a room. 10 alter a community. A remnant alters a generation. You may notice that people begin to respond differently to you now. Conversations soften. Conflicts de-escalate more quickly. This is not because you have all the right words, but because your spirit is no longer adding fuel to the fire. Compassion absorbs shock. It grounds interaction. There is also an internal strengthening taking place. You are becoming less dependent on external validation. Acts of mercy train you to act from conviction rather than applause. This independence is not isolation. It is freedom. You give because it is right, not because it is noticed. Archangel Michael reveals that this freedom is essential for what lies ahead. There will be moments when compassion is misunderstood, when kindness is mistaken for weakness, when restraint is seen as passivity. In those moments, you will need inner clarity to remain steady. Do not be surprised if you outgrow certain conversations, environments, or habits. Compassion refines taste. What once entertained you may now exhaust you. What once seemed important may now feel empty. This is not loss. It is alignment. You are also learning to hold tension without needing immediate resolution. This is a sign of emotional and spiritual maturity. Compassion allows you to sit with unanswered questions, unresolved pain, and imperfect systems without becoming bitter. You trust that your role is to contribute love, not control outcomes. Archangel Michael says this posture is rare and necessary. The world is filled with people trying to fix everything at once. Heaven looks for those willing to be faithful in one place at a time, feeding one person, listening to one story, offering one moment of dignity. These moments accumulate. They form a pattern. Over time, that pattern becomes a legacy. You may never see the full impact of your compassion, but others will live inside it. There is also a deepening of discernment happening now. You are learning when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when silence is the kinder choice. Compassion is teaching you timing. Timing protects both you and those you serve. Archangel Michael reveals that timing is often what separates mercy from enablement. True compassion does not rescue people from growth. It supports them through it. This requires wisdom, patience, and trust in God's process. You may feel moments of sorrow for the pain you now perceive more clearly in the world. This sorrow is not meant to paralyze you. It is meant to soften you. Toughness keeps the heart responsive. Hardness shuts it down. Heaven favors responsive hearts. As compassion deepens, prayer may change for you. Less asking, more listening. Less urgency, more trust. You begin to sense that God is already at work in places you once worried about. Your role is not to carry everything, it is to cooperate. Archangel Michael says cooperation with heaven is the essence of peace. You move with God rather than trying to move God. Compassion aligns you with that flow. And now, as this understanding settles, you are being prepared for something important. A moment will come when kindness will be required in a situation that tests your patience deeply. That moment will feel inconvenient. It will feel undeserved. but it will be decisive. How you respond then will matter more than you realize. Not because you will be judged, but because you will be positioned. Mercy positions people. Remain attentive. Remain grounded. Remain kind. Because what is coming next will reveal how compassion not only restores balance in others, but also protects your own heart when the pressure increases even further. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now speaks with clarity and firmness, because compassion is about to be tested not in theory, but in pressure. There comes a point in every awakening where mercy must prove it is more than emotion. This is that point. What you carry inside will soon be required outside, in situations that stretch patience and challenge restraint. As compassion grows, opposition does not always come as cruelty. Sometimes it comes as fatigue, sometimes as misunderstanding, sometimes as repetition, seeing the same needs, the same struggles, the same anger again and again. Archangel Michael says this is where many quietly retreat, not because they stopped caring, but because they stopped replenishing their strength. Hear this truth carefully. Compassion is sustained by perspective. When you forget why you are kind, kindness becomes heavy. When you remember who assigned you, mercy becomes light again. Feeding the hungry was never meant to be a burden. It was meant to be a reminder of shared humanity. You are learning now that anger often comes from powerlessness. People lash out when they feel unseen, unheard, or trapped. Compassion does not excuse harmful behavior, but it understands its roots. Understanding diffuses escalation. It slows cycles that anger accelerates. Archangel Michael reveals that you are being taught how to stand in emotionally charged spaces without absorbing what does not belong to you. This is a skill. It is learned through repeated acts of conscious kindness. Each time you respond with mercy instead of reaction, you strengthen this capacity. There will be moments when you want to withdraw, when silence feels easier than presence, when walking away feels safer than engaging. Archangel Michael does not condemn this instinct, but he cautions you not to let it become your default. Withdrawal protects temporarily. Compassion transforms permanently. This does not mean you are called to every situation. Discernment still leads. But when compassion is required, avoidance weakens alignment. Heaven gives grace for what it assigns. If you are called to respond, grace will meet you there. You may notice now that your reactions are slower, but deeper. You pause before speaking. You listen before responding. This is not hesitation. It is wisdom forming. Mercy slows the moment so truth can enter. Archangel Michael says this slowing is essential in a world addicted to speed. Speed amplifies anger. Slowness invites understanding. When you slow down, you create space for balance to re-enter. This is especially important in moments of confrontation. Compassion does not mean agreement. It means engaging without dehumanizing. Feeding the hungry teaches this lesson powerfully. You meet a need without interrogating worthiness. You give without demanding justification. That posture begins to shape how you handle conflict everywhere else. You stop trying to win and start trying to restore. Restoration requires patience. It requires humility. It requires trust that God is at work beyond what you can control. Archangel Michael reveals that many people are angry because they feel rushed by life itself. Compassion slows time for them, even briefly. A kind word, a meal, a moment of attention. These things interrupt the relentless pressure that fuels rage. As you continue, be aware of subtle pride that can creep in, feeling more compassionate than others, feeling more aware. Archangel Michael warns gently, Compassion rooted in comparison loses its purity. Mercy flows best from equality, not elevation. Return often to gratitude. Gratitude angers compassion. It reminds you that you too have been fed, emotionally, spiritually, physically, by grace you did not earn. This remembrance keeps your heart soft. And I'll pause here, because what follows next will connect compassion directly to endurance in a way that will change how you see your own strength. Stay with this message. This next understanding will matter more than you expect. And before continuing, let this message move through you and beyond you. If this word is grounding you, strengthening you, then help it reach others who are struggling under the weight of anger and confusion. Like this message so it can travel further. Share it where kindness feels scarce. Speak in the comments. Your voice adds momentum. And remain connected by subscribing, because what is unfolding here is a continuous unveiling, not a single moment. Trust me, you will want to stay present for what is coming next. Archangel Michael now speaks of endurance. Compassion is not a sprint. It is a way of walking. Those who endure in mercy outlast those who burn hot in anger and fade quickly. Endurance requires rhythm. Rest. Renewal. You are learning to pace yourself, to give without depletion, to care without carrying everything. This balance is crucial. Without it, even kindness becomes heavy. With it, mercy becomes sustainable. Feeding the hungry again stands as a model. You get what you have, not what you do not. You respond to the moment, not the entire problem. You trust God with what remains. This keeps the soul steady. There is a protection that forms around those who practice mercy consistently. Not immunity from hardship, but insulation from bitterness. Bitterness corrodes from the inside. Compassion preserves. Archangel Michael says many people survive storms but are damaged by them internally. Mercy prevents this damage. It allows you to pass through difficulty without becoming hardened. As pressure increases in the world, those who have learned this will stand. Others will fracture. This is not judgment. It is preparation. You are being prepared to remain whole. And as this message continues forward, you will soon see how compassion not only sustains you, but also becomes a shield around your heart when circumstances intensify even more. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks in a quieter tone, not because the message is weaker, but because you are strong enough to hear truth without force. Compassion has carried you this far, and now it begins to act as a shield around your heart. Not a wall that blocks feeling, but a covering that prevents damage while you remain open. There is a difference between being sensitive and being wounded. Many confuse the two. Sensitivity allows you to perceive what others miss. Woundedness distorts perception. Archangel Michael reveals that consistent compassion heals sensitivity so it does not turn into pain. This is a rare balance, and you are learning it. You may have noticed that situations which once deeply unsettled you now pass through without leaving scars. You still feel. You still care. But you recover faster. This is not emotional numbness. It is resilience formed through mercy. Compassion teaches the heart how to bend without breaking. The anger in the world has not disappeared, but it no longer defines your inner climate. You recognize it, but you are not ruled by it. This is important. Many people believe strength means hardness. Heaven says strength means remaining soft without being destroyed. Archangel Michael reveals that this softness is protected by wisdom. You are learning when to step forward and when to step back, when to speak and when silence is the kinder response. Compassion has trained you to listen beneath words, to hear fear behind anger, grief behind hostility. exhaustion behind indifference. This understanding changes how you relate to conflict. You no longer take everything personally. You see behavior as information rather than attack. This perspective preserves peace. It allows you to remain present without absorbing what is not yours to carry. Feeding the hungry continues to echo as a living lesson. Hunger exposes vulnerability, but compassion meets it without exploiting it. That exchange models how you now approach emotional hunger as well. You offer support without control, presence without pressure, care without entitlement. Archangel Michael says this posture protects you from burnout. Burnout often comes from trying to be responsible for outcomes that were never assigned to you. Compassion does not try to control results. It responds faithfully and then releases. You are also learning that not every act of mercy looks dramatic. Some acts are invisible. Listening without interrupting, withholding judgment, choosing patience when irritation rises. These moments are just as powerful as public acts of kindness. Heaven weighs hearts, not visibility. There may be days when your compassion feels unnoticed, when kindness is met with silence, when efforts seem to change nothing. Archangel Michael says these are refining moments. They test motive. They clarify intention. They anchor compassion in truth rather than feedback. Remember this, mercy is never wasted. Even when it appears unreceived, it still completes its work. It shapes you. It shifts atmospheres. It stores testimony you may never hear about. Heaven records what people forget. You are also being taught how to grieve without despair. Compassion opens your eyes to suffering, and that awareness can be heavy. But you are learning to bring what you see to God instead of carrying it alone. This exchange keeps sorrow from becoming hopelessness. Archangel Michael reveals that many people shut down because they do not know what to do with what they feel. Compassion gives feeling direction. It turns empathy into prayer, concern into action, sadness into intercession. This is why your prayer life may feel different now. Less frantic, more grounded. You pray from understanding rather than urgency. You trust God with outcomes more easily. You cooperate instead of striving. There is also a deep humility growing within you. Compassion reminds you how interconnected humanity is, how quickly circumstances can change, how dependent everyone is on grace, seen and unseen. This humility keeps pride from taking root. Archangel Michael warns gently against one thing as you move forward. Do not harden in response to those who refuse compassion. Not everyone will respond. Some will reject kindness. Some will misunderstand it. Do not let their response rewrite your nature. You are not responsible for how others receive mercy. You are responsible for how faithfully you release it. That faithfulness keeps your heart free. As balance continues to be restored in you, you may feel less drawn to extremes, less interested in outrage, less tempted by harsh certainty. Compassion teaches nuance. It allows you to hold complexity without losing clarity. This makes you a calming presence. People may not articulate it, but they will feel it. In a world full of sharp edges, softness anchored in truth feels like safety. Archangel Michael says the safety is not weakness, it is refuge. And refuge is powerful. People heal in safe spaces. Truth emerges there. Change becomes possible there. You are becoming such a space. And now, as this unfolds, you are being gently prepared for a final understanding, one that brings everything together. The anger you sense, the compassion you chose, the kindness that restored balance. It all leads to a moment of integration, where mercy becomes not just something you practice, but a legacy you leave behind. Remain open. Remain steady. Because what comes next will seal this message in a way that reaches beyond you and into the lives you are called to touch. My beloved one, Archangel Michael now brings this message to its completion, not as an ending, but as a sealing. Everything you have heard, everything that has been stirred within you, has been moving toward this understanding. Compassion is not a reaction to anger, it is heaven's answer to it. What began as discomfort has become clarity. What started as tension has become purpose. And what looked like a simple act has revealed itself as a divine instrument of balance. Archangel Michael says the anger you sensed was never meant to break the world. It was meant to reveal where love had been delayed. And through your willingness to respond with kindness, that delay hath been interrupted. Mercy has spoken louder than judgment. Compassion has finished what anger could only point toward. Feeding the hungry was never about food alone. It was a mirror held up to humanity asking a simple question. Will you choose indifference, or will you choose love? Each time you chose kindness, you answered on behalf of heaven. And those answers matter more than you know. There are lives you touched that you will never hear from again. Moments that felt small but were recorded eternally. Archangel Michael reveals that heaven measures legacy differently than the world does. Legacy is not built by recognition, but by faithfulness. Not by influence, but by obedience. Not by how many saw, but by how purely you responded. The balance restored through compassion does not disappear when circumstances change. It remains within you. It becomes part of how you move, how you listen, how you decide. Mercy has rewired your responses. Kindness has trained your instincts. Love has become your reflex. This is why fear no longer dominates you the way it once did. This is why anger no longer pulls you into chaos. You have learned how to stand in the middle of tension without being torn apart by it. That is authority. Quiet, steady, unshakable authority. Archangel Michael declares that those who choose compassion in times of rising anger become carriers of peace in future storms. Not because storms stop coming, but because they know how to remain whole within them. You are no longer easily destabilized. You are anchored. And now hear this carefully, because this is the final activation. Type kindness restores balance in the comments if you receive this message fully. Blessing code 5049 is now released over your life, sealing mercy in your heart, peace in your mind, and protection over your path. As this message settles, I am led to speak to you one final time from the heart. What Archangel Michael has revealed here is not meant to stay contained. Just as a single meal can change a life, a single message can awaken compassion in someone who has forgotten how to feel. I hear the Lord say, what you have received through this word must now be carried further. And I say this clearly, as a direct invitation. I am asking you to help sustain this mission. When you support this work through Super Thanks, through membership, or through PayPal using the link in the description, you are not funding content, you are feeding souls. You are placing spiritual bread into places where anger has starved hearts of hope. This is seed sown into fertile ground, and God Himself stands watch over it. I declare over every giver that what you release in obedience will return as multiplied peace, divine provision, and unexpected favor. Do not delay. Act now. Respond as an act of faith, because heaven honors swift obedience. Archangel Michael closes this message with assurance. You are not alone in this calling. You have not imagined this stirring. You have not misunderstood this season. Compassion has been your training. Kindness has been your weapon. Mercy has been your shield. Go forward carrying what you now understand. Let your life continue to be a place where judgment turns into mercy, Anger gives way to love, and balance is restored, not through force, but through compassion that refuses to look away. This is how hearts are changed. This is how the world is healed. And this is how heaven moves through you.